ready?
Yep.
Obviously, just got in a lot of really good work. Really, both first and second group got over 60 plays of really good live football. Our threes got a number of work as well. Thought we did a pretty good job with the ball as far as security. We attacked the ball good defensively. Had a penalties. First time we had the refs out there, so definitely an educational, especially with some of our younger guys, just cleaning up some holdings, a couple of procedures, a couple of finishes to plays. But overall, very excited. Got 9 practices down. Got 2 more weeks in front of us. But to have our first live scrimmage to come out the way we did, and especially offensively, I thought both our quarterbacks, Luke did extremely well, did a lot of positives today, really just one negative that is an easy pickup, and then Donovan had 1 interception, responded really good after that, and played extremely well. He's really been awesome the first 3 weeks, so excited for those guys overall. With that, turn over questions.
Just when you talk about those interceptions, like now would seem to be the time to learn how they bounce back from that. So like, what have you seen the response for those?
I think, Brett, we only had 1, didn't we? I believe we only had
one.
You had 1, and I would say 2 things, right? Like the details of how it happened. It was just a little bit behind him, underthrown, a little bit late coming out. But with the quarterback, you always worry about how they respond. And his response was awesome. I think the next drive went down the field for a touchdown. So the mechanics of that was great. Really overall, I think all spring we haven't had a lot of turnovers, a lot of interceptions. But when they have had some adversity, the guys have responded very well.
I mean, you guys seem like you're putting a lot of trust in Donovan, just giving him, it seems like the opportunity to be there. Like, what have you seen just 3 years for him, bro? Like his development.
First and foremost, he's just, I think his approach, his demeanor, his daily details, it just enhanced and are at a different level than he's ever had. And not that we're putting it in him, he's giving us the trust, right? Like one of the things we always talk about is dependability, and he's giving us a lot of reasons for us to be reliable on him, depend on him. I think his teammates feel that way. It's fun to watch the interaction between him and Luke. Just really impressed with him overall, and not only him, but the way the players have responded around him.
First live practice for 3 new coaches.
Yeah.
How to go for those guys?
Yeah, I've been very impressed. First and foremost, Archie. I coached inside backers really my whole career, so I told him, hey, you're going to burden this, right? And I literally learned from him on his interview, and it's been a steady process, extremely intelligent. I think our guys would tell you that the detail of his work is pretty impressive. And then, Step has been a immediate impact, literally from day one, the way he's responded to our guys. I think some of our older players, I've seen Isaiah Williams, some of those guys came back and they've talked to guys that he has coached and gave a little street cred walking in, but the growth of that wide receiver room has been pretty apparent since he's arrived. And then Clint, I can't imagine what we asked him to do. He literally came in 3 days before spring ball. Our outside linebacker group in general is a pretty strong group, but he's taken, I think, some of the things we did in the past, and he's tried to enhance that, as well as some new sub packages that we're using. So really excited about those 3 guys in general, and I know they're excited to be here.
What are your thoughts on the wide receiver room, Brett? Just what you're asking them to do, new position coach, and
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Well, a lot of moving parts, right? So first with the transition at the position coach, right? But Step took that from day one. I think the familiarity that him and Barry had, even though it's kind of in different roles, kind of in a different way, but he was with Barry at ARC, so they had a familiarity. When that job came open, he was literally one of the first guys I talked about with Barry. So to have it come to life was pretty awesome. I think Pat Bryan in general has taken a step forward just in his overall leadership. I think he understands where he is in that room, how he needs to do it, and the young guys have responded very well. Malik Elsey's probably playing as well as he's played. Made a huge catch today in the red area. Ashton Hollins was having a good spring, kind of got rolled up today, so we're waiting to see where that's at. But overall, he's had a really good spring. Kanari Welcher had a nice, really good little screenplay today, but his game has jumped up. Hank Beatty has been impressive. And then I have a couple new guys, Kapka Jones, as well as Rio's been a little bit banged up with a hamstring, but his first impressions are definitely very positive.
Coach, you've alluded to some position changes this spring. Can you give some specifics on who those kids are and how you think they did today in their new spots?
Trying to think who changed, because I've been watching them for 3 weeks. Well, Jared Beatty went from outside to inside, and that's been very positive. He's been kind of used baseline on our base defense, but also in some sub packages. He has good inside-outside value, so that's there. Daniel Brown has been kind of flexing the same way. He's been inside and outside linebacker. Really on the offense side, it's been guys that have changed around positions within the offensive line. Nobody's really changed. I mean, guard to tackle, vice versa, but overall everything's been pretty positive there. I think we want to find our top, 8 to 10 O linemen, but more than anything, find out our top 5, right? And that's kind of a day-to-day flow.
Ezekiel Holmes, is he working up
Zeke
front, or
Holmes.
is he still?
Zeke's playing outside linebacker, but he's also played some defensive end the last 2 weeks. But yeah, really in our sub packages, they literally do both. But Zeke's been, I think, very impressive. Just he's never really played down in there, and some of the things we're asking him to do, he's been a solid guy for us in there. And then our new guys have been really impressive. I think Dennis Briggs, if you ask anybody, he's been very impressive to everybody in the room.
But you guys didn't have Dez at this time
Yeah.
last year, really, for most. Like, what have you seen from him in the
Yeah.
offseason and in the spring ball?
Yeah, I think Dez for sure is an interior player, a guard. We kind of thought one back forth guard to tackle. I think he could have some value at tackle, but we're playing mainly a guard. I think him, Zai, Brandon Henderson, to a certain level, Melvin Priestley, those 4 guys are kind of figuring out who's our best mix, right? Zai's playing outside, but he's also playing inside. Our left side, Geske and J.C. Davis have been pretty solid. I think they're firm over there, but some of those other guys could pop over that left guard spot as well. And then Josh Kreutz continues to be very impressive at center.
And the other day, Archie had talked about Dylan's obviously back
Yeah.
in practice, and he said it just kind of feels different when Dylan's out there. What have you seen him build on from such a significant role last season?
Yeah, so in week 3, it was the first week we'd had Dylan back. He got banged up in week 1. He's been back. He practiced Tuesday, Thursday, and also out there today. Today there was a big contact play, that I kind of was like, okay, he's back. But his presence, his awareness, his ability to communicate. Kanana's not out there as well, right? So really our 2, and really James Kreutz isn't out there. So our top 3 returning inside players. But Daniel Brown's been awesome. Seth Coleman playing a little bit of inside backer has been really good. I think the maturity that Jared Beatty brings to that room was pretty apparent. And then really more than that, Ryan Mead, even though he's kind of played everything, he's been a really good steady voice for us.
The open spot on the staff, is that something you said down the road that you'll fill that
I got
later?
you. Yeah, really because the timing of it, I didn't see it coming, didn't see it happening, right? I really just wanted to finish spring ball. I literally got a folder of probably 24 names, right?
Wow.
I've had over 50, 60 people reach out to me, but I'm kind of narrowing down to guys I'm really genuinely interested in. And then Aaron and I will get together really on Monday. This week I just let him gather information, I gather information. But yeah, I've been blown away some of the people that reached out. But the other X factor is, not only is it in the season for us right now in spring, I think there's a lot of people that really probably might have interest, but they're in the middle of spring ball. They don't want to complicate the matters there. So
Right.
I'm going to let spring ball pass and then we'll move on. I'll probably hire someone in the middle because once our guys get done with spring ball, they're gone the next week anyway. So
Sure.
I want to get the right guy in. I'm going to take my time, kind of like I did with Clint's opportunity. I'm so glad that we took a little extra time because it obviously got us a great coach.
You got some flexibility there, though, right?
100%, yeah.
That's,
The only thing is spring recruiting, but I can easily put a GA. I'd like to put a couple of our guys on the road anyway, so it works in our favor.
Did you do the spring today with the headset and the
Yeah.
helmet today? How did that go?
Yeah, we've really done it all through spring. So offensively, we've let 2 of our quarterbacks have it, and we have 1 on defense. We only have 3. The first 2 weeks we experimented having because D Rose wasn't out there. We put it in Miles.
Sure.
He loves it. Barry and the quarterbacks love it. Today we don't have the functionality of turning off in 15 seconds, but we had managers tapping them today, so they knew they couldn't talk because we were trying to make it as realistic as possible. I think players and coaches are very excited about
As the
it.
live bullets flew today, you feel like it was?
It was. I haven't really talked to them yet, but it was definitely functional. And then when we have the other byproduct of that is when you have the other quarterback in there, right? Because we had 3s and 4s going, you had to go in there and you can see the effect that it has
Okay.
when you don't have it.
Any breakout guys today that maybe
Aiden Lawfrey
surprised
and
you?
Josh, I think Aiden Lawfrey had a couple of big runs, but Aiden Lawfrey and Josh have been very impressive through the spring. Captain Jones made a couple of really nice plays today. I would say the quarterbacks were very consistent. Our top 2 guys were really good. I think up front, Dennis Briggs, I can't have a play, but he's been very impressive through the first couple of weeks. Daniel Brown, also a very explosive player. Seth Coleman and Gabe, I really limited those guys. So we limited Pat Bryant, Gabe Ackas, Seth Brown, Dennis Briggs, and a couple other guys on reps.
With Daniel Brown, since you're strong with the outside linebacker position, is there a thought to try to get him on the field with the other playmakers at the same time rather than?
I think you always want to get your best players on the field, but that's what you come to games for.
I can guess who you have in the women's tournament title game. I guess who
First off, congrats, Coach Shauna Green, right? She's my neighbor. I give her a honk every day going past there, right? I watched that the other night. At the end of it, we were in a meeting, so I got out of that. And then last night I was bachelor's weekend. My wife's out of town on a dance trip with my 2 little girls, so I was taken in that game last night. I think just an evolution of I've always been close to that side of it, right? Even
Right.
when I was going back to Iowa with Vivian Stringer, I was close.
Sure.
When I went to college, I was friends with a lot of the women's basketball players, right? To see the growth of that sport's been pretty awesome for me to watch. I was going back and forth with Josh Whitman last night, hey, can you? I'm sitting here watching a women's basketball game on a Friday night and looking excited to watch the game here to Saturday night, right? But just couldn't be more proud or happy for Brad and Sean on what they were able to accomplish in postseason.
Who you got in the men's Final Four?
Oh, I don't
No?
go that far. I don't know enough about basketball. I just sit there and watch.
There's been more like people saying that basketball players could play football. But tell me the reality. That's harder than we think.
I always said, so when I grew up in the era of Michael Jordan, right, and then I began to recruit the state of Illinois in the mid to late 90s and the early 2000s, I always say Michael Jordan ruined a lot of really good football players, right? Because a bunch of
Sure.
6'2", 6'4" guys think they're going to be the next Jordan, right? But I've always said that, right? I think there's a lot of really good basketball players that make ideal tight ends, and then you see different stories, Obviously Coleman was having some fun on social media the other day, and I said, hey, if this is serious, I'd love to entertain it. But it's a different sport, right?
Sure.
But it's a concept where I think at certain positions there is a lot of crossover about the ability to score and make things happen in the red area, especially.
Have you
What
had
kind
guys do that?
Huh?
Have you had guys do that football?
No, I've never had a basketball
Okay.
player on my team. Yeah.
What kind of growth have you
One more
seen
after this.
from Luke Altmaier, just in terms of his
Yeah.
maturity and leadership?
Tank and I met in the out of season just about when the players came back to, put Luke into that mold, into that role, right? And he's really, I think, made a conscientious effort in January, February, March before spring ball ever arrived, just to have that leadership and that voice and that presence, right? He just doesn't have, that's not a natural thing to him. He leads well, but he's more of his leadership traits are very intentional, right? Like a lot of good one-offs, lunches, brunches, breakfast, right? And that stuff. And we need that quarterback to have that assertive voice, and I think he's definitely made a huge step in that right direction. And I think our players feel it.
Right, you guys, we've talked a lot about the transfers you've added in.
Yeah.
3 weeks, you guys seem really excited about this transfer class.
Yeah.
What have you seen, not necessarily guy by guy, but just collectively that they can?
Well, just their presence, their awareness. Jake Rosh, our equipment manager, he literally hit me up about just these guys are so much different from guys we brought. Like, we were very diligent. We went after these guys for a long time, made sure they checked the box in several different areas, right? And Cole Russ, the presence, the awareness. Melvin Priestley brings a little something. J.C. Davis at the tackle position, and 3 guys on the defensive line. Chase Canada had a pick today that might have been a pick 6, right? Those guys have made immediate impact, not only with our players, but in the locker room, which I think was a big deal.